welcome everyone to the event. Thank you so much for coming here. I'm very pleased. We have Carmen Vick, who is from Songhees First Nation. Very pleased to have Carmen and to welcome her to the stage. She's going to welcome us to the territory and start us off on a good step here. Welcome, Carmen.
Asiam Nasjelcha, Silisiat the Nasne, Chesa etlicit et la Kongan, Ait Quanis Kunana Hela, Ait Quins Techa at the Eitlan Anox et la Kongan, Haishka at the Aitscapeth, Atia Enoch, Haishka Quensine Techel, Haishka a Quensla Leitnantium. My highly respected friends, my name is Carmen. I am from here at Lekwungen. It's good to see you all. Welcome to the traditional homelands of the Lekwungen. Thank you for this nice gathering today. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening.
Carmen, thank you so much for the welcome, and just wanted to say this little packet is from this Wendake First Nation in Quebec, and we're here to talk about Indigenous economies, and they are one of the inspirational examples, much as your own First Nation, of economic empowerment and what you can do and deliver, and that's what we're here to talk about today. My name's Tamara Kravchenko. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Public Administration at the University of Victoria. And here at the school, we're really dedicated to ensuring that public servants and civic leaders of today and tomorrow have a strong understanding of Indigenous governance and Indigenous economies. And we are particularly interested in really having an empowering conversation because there's so much exciting stuff happening these days, which Carol Anne Hilton, our wonderful guest, will be telling us about. And I'm going to hand over the microphone to you now and to our wonderful host, Dr. Susan Thiessen, who is also a professor at the school.
So thank you so much, Carmen, for your very beautiful words and your wonderful way to get us started in the right way today. I really appreciate you having the courage to step into this role, and it's really a pleasure to meet you as well. Thank you, Tamara, for organizing this event today and for bringing Carol Anne here. What a wonderful opportunity we have today to listen and learn together about reconciliation, responsibility, and reciprocity. We have the distinct honor to host Carol Anne Hilton in a conversation that will illuminate how the public sector today can best support Indigenous economies. I'm Suzanne Thiessen, as Tamara said. I'm an assistant professor in Indigenous community engagement in the School of Public Administration at the University of Victoria. So I have the pleasure of asking our guest some questions to help us all better understand how effective public administration might look from the lens of Indigenomics. So, wow, Carol Anne's here. It's been so long since I've seen her. We're so pleased you're able to join us today. And before we get into our conversation, I'd like to share a little bit with you about what I know about Carol Anne and her work. So Carol Anne, for those of you who don't know, she's an international Indigenous business leader, speaker, advisor, facilitator, and author. She's committed to increasing the visibility and inclusion of Indigenous business and economic growth globally She's got over 20 years of experience in community, business development, and economic design. She's focused on multi-generational Indigenous wealth creation, and she's now focusing her expertise, skills, and strategic insights across a broad range of social, ecological, and economic projects driving multi-generational impact nationally and globally. She has her international MBA from the University of Hertfordshire, England. She's of New Channel descent from the Heshquiat Nation on Vancouver Island. She's recognized for her contributions to business and economics, particularly in value creation in Indigenous economies. So I mentioned that Carol Anne is an author, and I have a copy of the book that she wrote, Indigenomics, Taking a Seat at the Economic Table. So my first question, Carol Anne, is what does it mean to take a seat at the economic table?
Thank you so much, and thank you for the warm welcome and introduction to come and spend time with you today. And as well, thank you, Carmen, for the welcome and speaking your beautiful language. I think that it's really important to recognize that the Indigenous language of here holds the teachings of this land, and those teachings in themselves tell us and instruct us how to be. So to elevate this language from here and to hear that and to raise its importance is really also carrying with it the intelligence of an Indigenous worldview. So thank you for bringing that today, Carmen. Big appreciation. I know I've been learning to speak my language for a number of years and know it takes courage, so I appreciate the courage to speak and to be heard in that. In authoring Indigenomics, Taking a Seat at the Economic Table, I started with Indigenomics simply as a hashtag on social media, as a way to create space around bringing attention to the media narrative around Indigenous business, its growth, and understanding the media story around conflict and challenges. And in doing that, I was really able to have the creative space to shape meaning, to shape purpose and intention for what Indigenomics really needed to become. And as I saw really that to place into Canadian reality what is most important as a starting point. We hear so many Canadians say, I was never taught that in school. And to be able to, okay, if you weren't taught that in school, what is it that we need to be aware about of the Indigenous relationship in this country? And the metaphor of taking a seat at the economic table, there's part of that that comes from our New Channel traditions on the West Coast. I'm from Hot Springs. We have a saying that when the tide goes out, the table is set. And that's very representative of our economy, that we have everything provided for us. And the other is in that concept that the ocean is our garden. There was an embedded historical New Channel economic intelligence that expressed itself. So what I saw was there was a need to reaffirm the structures of original economy of here, of this place. And the second part was to understand the deconstruction of Indigenous economy and how that was experienced. So if we looked at parallel processes of devaluing Indigenous economic knowledge, relationship to place, responsibility, that as one parallel process was also matched by the same process in terms of the development of Canada itself. So with the realization that utilizing the concept that Indigenous peoples were systematically disinvited to having a seat at the economic table of this country, that in itself is that there was a centering point of our leadership and awareness in education, the space to acknowledge that as a truth, and the second was to create the leadership space around what does that mean now and what is our response. So even in that original point that I had referred to is I wasn't taught that in school. So understanding essentially this space of residential school, the reserve systems, the Indian Act, and the RCMP as the four structures of the polarization of Indigenous peoples from our lands, from our identity, ways of being and knowing and operating with inside of our own economies. So this idea of taking a seat at the economic table is really about this emergence and uprising of Indigenous peoples. Now, how our own leadership of who we are, our teachings, ways of being, and economic intelligence is not only relevant to today, but essential.